Morning, everybody. Good old technology working out the way that it is working out. Good morning. Nice to see you all out there this morning for our Saturday morning. Well, it's normally either a Saturday morning member spotlight or a Saturday morning Ask the Expert. This morning, I am pleased to announce that we are going to be joined by two very special guests from an organization that many of you will know. In fact, 71% of householders in the UK know of this organization. You know exactly what it is because I've been talking about it all week. I'm going to say good morning to a few people and then we're going to crack on. I'm not going to read out all of the names. We're broadcasting on 3 different platforms this morning. We are in the Facebook group, we're in the members Facebook page, and we're on the YouTube channel as well. Craig Wright, good morning to you. Kevin Electrical, nice to see you there. Jason Norman, nice to have you with us. Steve Palmer, good morning, sir. Alex Fuchs, great to have you there from Tide Electrical. John Noble, good morning to you. Dan Kennedy, nice to have you there. Chris Ward, Oscar Bravo 1, nice to see you out there as well. Who else have we got? We've got Justin Davis. Actually, Justin, give yourself a round of applause. You are part of the instigator of what's actually happening here today. You are one of the members who mentioned our names in the right places. So well done for you on that. Darren May, good morning to you. Daniel Brooks, nice to see you there. Paul Forbes, good morning. Who else have we got? Leela Singh we have as well. Over on the other screen, we have Connor Probet, Tony Shirley, Gary Pratton, good morning to you, sir. Leela Singh has joined us, as has Stephen Lake and Frank from Carlia Electrical. We also have Mr. Tintin Lawson out there. So, morning to you all. I'm not going to go through every single person on every single platform, but great to have you guys out there. This morning is well, it's going to be very interesting for you guys. And I think it's a big step for us here in the Toolbox as well. Before we get into that, you know I've got a couple of announcements that I will make for you and your membership, just so that you are up to date with what's actually happening. So I'm going to try and get through those as quickly as possible so that we can get on with this morning's guests. Reminder for those who are not aware, we have changed up things recently as far as your training is concerned. We are no longer doing the Monday Q&A. That has now shifted to a Tuesday. And on top of doing the Tuesday presentation, the Tuesday training, we're now doing Tuesday Q&A, and you have a micro challenge every week as well. So please make sure that you alter things in your diary and that you're able to show up. We start at 8 o'clock every Tuesday evening. We have a 45-minute to a 1-hour training session. Then the Q&A is opened up, and then you are given a task to go away and do for the week. Next public event is the Feast or Famine Challenge. That is a 5-day challenge, which we will be opening to the public, but each and every one of the toolboxers are welcome to attend on that as well. It is where we talk about all of the various low and no cost ways of generating leads into your business. So it's stopping that feast and famine struggle where you've got work 1 week and then you've got nothing for 2 or 3 weeks in the diary. That all kicks off in May on the 18th to the 22nd. It's a 5-day challenge. You know how it operates. You get a task to complete in the morning. You're given opportunity to do Q&A during the course of the day. And then at 7 p.m. every evening, we go live and we do a deep dive into the training and respond to any of your queries as well. Put that in the diary, 18th to the 22nd of May. And then, of course, one of the big, I'm going to say annual, but it's biannual events, is our Toolbox workshop. The next workshop is in Reading. It is September 11th and 12th, and we have a number of guest speakers attending that event as well. The primary focus on the event is going to be systems in your business. Last event that we did was based on AI and systems. There was a huge amount of interest in getting systems operating in your business to help you to manage your business, to help you to process your customers and so on and so forth. So we're heavily focusing on that in this next 2-day workshop. That's in Reading. For those of you who need to get it into your diary, make sure it is in your diary. The registration pages will be going up shortly for this, so please make sure you get yourself registered. The room, I believe, is going to be capable of holding about 60 people. So make sure you get your name in there quick. You guys will all have a head start in terms of registration for that. It will be open to the public approximately 3 weeks before the event itself. But you guys get the head start to get registered. And again, it's all part of your membership, totally free, absolutely no cost to you at all. Right. So that's the updates and announcements. Now I want to get into the exciting stuff, and that is the content for this morning, which we have a couple of guests, which I'm going to bring in just a moment into the frame. But before I do, what I want to do is add some context to what's happening this morning. Because many of you who've been around the toolbox now for a while will know and realize that I have been an advocate for a long time for an organization called Which, and specifically for the Which Trusted Trader brand. And the reasons for that may not be the reasons that many people look at Which. In our industry, many of the tradespeople, whether we're talking about construction industry or the electrical industry as a whole, we're talking about people in the trades tend to look to organizations like Which to get leads, to get business, to see if it will attract any more people to them. And for a number of years, I've been saying that that's the wrong approach to that, because I've seen people join Which Trusted Trader and then leave it going, well, I didn't get anything from it, I didn't get any leads from it. And then we've had the conversation, we've spoken to them, and they've gone back because now they realize it's not about the leads, it's about the conversions. So those of you in the toolbox know that we teach a 6-step system, comprising of specializing, that's niching down in your business, positioning yourself, that's creating your local position as an expert in your local area, trustworthy expert in your local area, awareness, which is all about the advertising, relationships, which is all about building those lasting relationships with your customer, keeping in touch is all about communication, and then systemizing the business is about getting your life back. It's about spending time doing the things you want to do and not having your business take over your whole life. Fundamentally, your business will not exist if you don't get leads in. We all know that. And there are organizations out there that help you, and there's your promotions and there's your advertising, and there's everything that you can do to generate the leads in your business. The next step, once you've got leads in, you've got to convert those leads into business. It's all very well getting, let's say you're getting 100 leads a week, and just picking figures out of the year. It's all very well getting 100 leads a week. But if you can't convert those leads, or if you're only converting 1 or 2 of those leads, then getting 100 or 1,000 leads isn't going to help you. You can increase the number of leads, but if your conversions aren't good, you're still not going to have a business, right? The next step you have after that then is the delivery. So you get the leads, you've got to convert the leads, and then you've got to deliver it. Getting your leads, you'll do through your marketing. You have numerous different ways of getting leads, and we teach a lot of that inside of the toolbox. Conversions, we're going to talk about where Which fit into that in just a moment. And in the delivery phase of it, that's when your customers want to look at you and go, does he know what he's doing? Is he bona fide in what he does? And that's what your NAPIT gives you. That's what your NIC gives you. They give you the badge to say to your customer, yeah, I'm competent at delivering the service that I'm telling you I'm going to deliver. Where people fall down and where they don't put enough effort into is the conversions. So they'll spend money getting the leads. They'll spend money increasing their training, getting their badge to say that they're registered, that they're credible, but they don't spend money or effort in the conversions. And we have that gap in the middle. Now, my belief is there's a lot you can do yourself, a huge amount you can do yourself in terms of positioning yourself to create your conversions. But one of the things that we're going to talk about this morning, and this is where this all fits in, with positioning your business. But one of the things that we're going to discover today with our guests, which I'm going to bring in, well, actually, let's get them on frame now, if I can. Let me see how I do this. Oh, pressing the wrong buttons. There we go. And Steve has disappeared as well. There you go. Steve can come in as well. So what we're going to talk about this morning is where Which fits into your business and how it can help you in terms of converting. Because my contention is my contention is that if you, as an electrician, are quoting against two other electricians and everything is equal, you all turn up with a nice smart uniform, you all turn up with a nice smart vehicle, you all turn up and you're NIC registered, but you are the one who is which trusted trader registered, you have the jump start on everybody. So if everything else is equal, the customer is more likely to choose you. And the reasons for that are very simple. Number one, which as an organization started in 1960 as a consumer advocate. I don't want to steal James's presentation or anything, but they started as a consumer advocate, which means they weren't there for the retailers, they weren't there for the shopkeepers, they weren't there for the wholesalers. They were there for the customer, to ensure that the customers were not being ripped off. That was right up until today, which still exists today to do that. But in 2013, something special happened. The toolbox was born. No, let's step back. The toolbox was born in 2013. In April 2013, the toolbox came to life. In August of that same year, 2013, which created Which Trusted Trader. And it started that business with, I think it was about 18 members, 18 tradespeople on their books at that time. And it has grown, and I'm sure James will tell you where they are today. That leaves us now in a situation where we had an organization that didn't talk about your credentials in terms of what you can do, in terms of your ability to join cables, your ability to build a construction. This gave you an organization that you would jump through the hoops in order to prove that you were a sound business, which gave the customer that reassurance. And we all know that you can have a gas safe badge, you can have a NIC badge, you can have a NAPID badge, and you can treat your customers badly. But if you have a Which Trusted Trader badge, you have an organization that's keeping eyes on you, and that is valuable to the customer. Sorry about that lengthy introduction, guys, but the floor is now yours, James. So I'm going to take down my slides and add you, hopefully, if I can do that, and then that should work.
Fantastic. We good to go? Yeah, everyone can see my screen.
We are good to go.
Fantastic. Okay, so listen, thank you very much for the introduction, James. I really appreciate that. And morning, everybody. It is really truly sort of great to be here. James and I have been speaking for a number of months now. We just thought now would be the really good time to kind of get this together and start launching it out. So I'm James Rees. I'm here because we've officially teamed up with my Electricians Toolbox to give you what we call the kind of commercial edge, really. Basically, we're combining the best business support in the electrical industry with Met and the UK's most famous sort of badge of trust. So again, I'd like to take this time to thank James for inviting me here today to allow us to introduce Which Trusted Traders to you, and to my colleague Alistair Newton, who will be answering any questions on the endorsement scheme should there be any at the end of the presentation. So as Alistair. So listen, first of all, you're going to be lucky. I'm not going to be talking for the full 11 slides. I've got a couple of videos to kind of go through with you guys as well. So we have a stand at the S.P.A.R.K.S in Swindon, where we get to speak to consumers sort of 3 or 4 times a year and educate them on everything from finding good quality traders to our recently launched home energy planning service. So let's start with a bit of reality. Before we start this video, when a homeowner is looking for a S.P.A.R.K key, they aren't just thinking about the wiring. They're thinking about their worries. Will they show up? Will they rip me off? Is this work safe? And our goal in this partnership is simple. We eliminate consumer worry. And if you remove the fear, you remove the biggest barrier to yes. What's the number one worry your customers have? Usually it's sort of trust. So I'll sort of play this video for you guys.
James, that audio is not coming through.
Sorry, say it again.
That audio is not coming through. Can you just reshare your screen? Because I think you may not click the audio button.
Yeah, let me try that again. Sorry, guys. Let me.
Apologies for this, guys. Bear with us. There's always going to be a technical issue.
Screen. Okay, so click the tab. Okay, bear with me, guys. My apologies. Okay, I'm going to go back. Hopefully, this will work. So you guys can see the screen again. Yeah, James, can you confirm?
Yeah, okay, yeah, all good.
I'll try and play. I'll try and play again, and then let me know if it doesn't work. If it doesn't, I can share these around afterwards.
No, the audio is not playing again.
Okay. Okay, that's a shame. We can. I can go back. I can send these out sort of afterwards, so not to worry. My apologies, everybody. So let's dive deeper into the Which Trusted Traders and what it really represents at its core. It's a high-level endorsement scheme designed to recognise and highlight truly trustworthy traders throughout the UK. While it covers several areas, its primary focus is the consumer home improvement industry, meaning that it's built exactly for professionals just like yourselves. Now, why does the Which name matter so much? Because it carries a legacy. So millions of people already trust the Which instinctively. When a homeowner sees that the endorsement logo, they aren't just looking at the badge, they're looking at a vital tool to make better, safer buying decisions. But what makes this different from any other directory? It's the substance behind the logo. You know, to get the endorsement, you go through a rigorous assessment that many other schemes do not require. I understand there's one or two Which Trusted Traders on the call themselves, and they would be a testament to sort of how difficult it is to get in. So just to ground this properly, millions of people in the UK rely on Which to help them make better decisions. That independence and consumer focus is at the centre of why Which Trusted Traders exists and why a trader comes onto the scheme. They go through a rigorous assessment. They go through financial checks, behavioural checks, documentation reviews, competency checks, references, the lot. We don't just rubber stamp people. In fact, 1 in 4 applicants don't get through. And traders value that. They want to stand out from the crowd. On the consumer side, every review from a trader profile is 100% genuine. It's moderated, it's verified, it's checked. And the point is relatively simple. The customers want reassurance. Traders want to differentiate. And we kind of sit in the middle a little bit, kind of making that relationship credible. When traders join, they commit to our code of conduct, which makes disputes easier to resolve and gives consumers confidence in their professionalism of the trader. So I've got another video to play. I've got a horrible feeling this isn't going to work either. So I'll just see if that kind of comes in after this one. So the slide really highlights the power of the Which Trusted Trader endorsement in helping members win the right kind of work. We know that 80% of consumers are more likely to choose a tradesperson for a sort of medium-sized job if they have a Which endorsement compared to one without. That immediately shows the commercial value of the badge at the point of decision-making. Now, when we look at the traders themselves, the results are just as strong. Discounting traders that we remove from the scheme, 89% of the endorsed Which Trusted Traders stay endorsed because we educate the trader on how they stand out from the competition. And that education piece from us is really, really key. We don't just provide the badge, we help traders maximize its value. That hasn't always been the case. We've learned on how to do that over that kind of 10, 11-year period that we've existed. On top of that, 72% say the Which Trusted Trader logo makes them more confident in their overall choice, which means this isn't just about visibility, it's about trust and it's about reassurance at that critical moment that James was talking earlier on about, that the kind of decision-making piece, that conversion. Ultimately, this is about helping members convert more high-quality leads, attract customers who value trust, and win work more consistently in a competitive sort of market. So what does this mean to be a Which Trusted Trader? Our traders tell us what it means to be a part of the traders. Now, probably recognize some of the logos around the sides. These are the guys that are already working with us and are working with my Electricians Toolbox. I've got a horrible feeling this video is not going to work, but we're going to try it anyway. James, just confirm after 5-10 seconds, if you don't mind, mate, if it's working or not.
No, we've got no audio there, James.
No audio. Okay, no problems at all. Again, like I said, I can share these around. So now let's talk about why we've brought these two powerhouses together. This partnership is where the gold standard of electrical business management meets the UK's most trusted endorsement badge. It's designed to do sort of 3 specific things for your business. Addresses consumers' trust directly. We know that trust is the biggest hurdle. My apologies. We know that trust is the biggest hurdle in any transaction. By combining Met's professional workflow with the Which logo, you aren't just telling customers you're good, you're proving that through independent authority. And we also want you to stand out from the crowd. So let's be honest, the local market can be crowded. Most of your competition has the technical permission to play, meaning they have the right tools and basic certifications. Very few have the commercial permission to lead. This partnership gives you that leadership status. Elevate the industry. We aren't just looking to win jobs. We're trying to change how the electrical industry is perceived. We want to shift the focus from getting a quote to the overall consumer experience. When you use the My Electricians Toolbox to manage your business and the Which Trusted Trader logo to brand it, you create a professional image that justifies your bill. You're no longer competing on price alone, which we know can be an issue in some instances, because you are providing instant trust that the cheap guys simply cannot offer. This is how you stop being a tradesperson, stop being the premier service provider.
James, can I just stop you there for 1 second? Can you go back to that? Can you go back to that video slide? I do apologize.
It's okay. Yeah.
One of the people watching in said that there's a button at the bottom. If you try playing the video, there's a button at the bottom with a microphone, apparently.
So for me, yeah.
Yeah, if you try and play the video again.
Okay.
No, I'm still not. I can see the speaker button down there, but it's not. The audio on your machine's not muted, is it?
No, I can hear it my end, which is strange, but obviously it's not translating through the speakers at your end, I guess.
Odd. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you, Darren. It was worth a shot.
Thanks, Darren. Yeah, my apologies. They're pretty good videos, actually, so I'm a bit gutted about that. So, all right, let's get practical. So how does this actually look in your day-to-day business? We aren't just giving you the sticker for your bumper. We are giving you a complete branding ecosystem that integrates directly into the kind of the Met toolbox. The secret to building a high-end brand is consistency. We sort of all know that, and I know James is a big advocate for that. When a customer sees the Which Trusted Trader and Traded logo and the Met logos together across every single touch point, it reinforces that you are the real deal. It sounds cheesy, but it really is true. And here is how we help you flood your local market with that trust. Your digital storefront will show you how to feature these logos on your website and your social media. In an era where everyone Googles before they call, right? That logo acts as the instant filter. It tells the customer that they can stop looking. Then there's the physical presence. So your vehicles and workwear are moving billboards. When you're parked on a driveway, your neighbors see that the endorsement returns to a standard service call into your local marketing event. The idea behind it is it does create that kind of that sort of the holy trinity, the triage. You know, you've got your technical expertise from your NAPITs or, you know, your NIC-EICs we're currently partnered with. You've got your business nous from kind of MET, and then you've got that consumer trust end that follows very neatly into that triangle from Which Trusted Traders. And the moment of truth, this is where the most powerful part. So when you send in home quotations and email campaigns through My Electrician's Toolbox, the logos are right there. It makes your quotes look significantly more professional than a handwritten scroll on a basic plain email. It tells the customer this is a business that is audited, it's been vetted, and it follows a strict code of conduct. Think about it, from the first email to the very first invoice to your customers seeing a consistent message of quality. Most trades struggle to look professional because they don't have the time to manage their branding. With the My Electricians Toolbox integration, that professional veneer is applied automatically to your business. You do the electrical work, we make sure that that's the look, they're like the best business in the world while you're doing it. So let's be honest with ourselves for a second. As electricians, we spend a lot of time and money on our technical accreditations. We pride ourselves on our gold standard work, our certifications, and our technical knowledge. But here is the reality. The average homeowner, those technical badges are just a permission to play. Customers expect you to be qualified. It's the bare minimum that they demand before they even pick up the phone. However, very few businesses have the commercial permission to lead. This is what we are offering you today with the Which Trusted Trader endorsement. It's the commercial edge over your competition. Shifting the focus from the consumer, while the technical badge focuses on the wiring, this endorsement focuses on the consumer experience. It tells the customer that from the very first phone call to the final sign-off, they're in the safe professional hands. And the other thing as well, like I've mentioned previously, is justifying your bill. So while we know that the race to the bottom on price is a losing game, the partnership allows you to step out of that race. When you present a quote that features the UK's most famous trust logo alongside the Met professional documentation, you are justifying your bill. You aren't just a guy with a toolbox. You're a vetted professional who has been independently verified. This is getting paid for the jobs that you should be doing at the end of the day. Providing instant trust. Trust usually takes years to build with a single client. By using the Which logo, you get instant trust. You're borrowed decades of reputation from the UK's leading consumer champion and putting it right on your van and your Met quotes. In a crowded market, the technical skills you get through the door, but the commercial edge that wins the contract. It wins that consumer contract. It's the difference between being another quote and being the only logical choice for your customer. So sort of enough about that. We talk about the kind of offer really that we've got in the minute. So we have partnered with, and we're very proud of that partnership with My Electrician Toolbox. And because of that, because you're part of the My Electricians Toolbox family already, you get 50% off monthly membership fee for the first 6 months of joining. Also, today, you get half price assessment if you apply. There's a few ground rules. This is businesses with 29 employees or less. You've been trading for more than 6 months. Also, if you're doing renewables, part of the MCS scheme direct. It's a low risk way to see the massive impact this can have on your lead conversion. So if you're ready to take the next step, and I'll sort of keep this on for the next couple of minutes, if you like. I've created a QR code for you to use. So if you get your smartphones, you sort of scan the QR code. It'll take you to our landing page that we've created with My Electricians Toolbox. You put your name, business name in, sort of email address, and that is it. You registered then for the application, and it also gives you access to that half price assessment fee as well. Now, I've briefed the sale team, the applications team in Which Trusted Traders. I've done that this week, so that on Monday or a day that's convenient for yourself next week, they will talk you through in more detail on what the application entails. But I'm sure after sort of listening to myself and sort of James sort of going on about the sort of endorsement and the partnership, it should be a sort of natural choice for you guys, I guess. So, and that's it really. So I think we were going to open up to some questions, but I'll sort of hand back over to sort of James to sort of top and tail this. Again, I can send this through to James. He can send this out, but to register for that offer, jot your details down, and we'll get people sort of giving you calls throughout next week. All right, guys. So that is it.
No, absolutely fantastic, James. I'm not sure what happened with the audio there, because when we tested that yesterday, it was all good. Yeah. So apologies for that. We will be opening the floor to questions. Steve is going to moderate that and take care of the handling the questions for us. I think first and foremost, number one, thank you for being here today, and thank you for partnering with us here in the Toolbox. As you are aware, I've been talking to members for years about the value of being a Which Trusted Trader, and in my little spiel at the beginning, I find it difficult when people look at the badge alone and think it's going to get them leads. And I think if there was one thing I would ask from you, or from even Alistair, who is sort of in at the deep end, if you like, is what could we do or say more to tradespeople in order to convince them that it's not just about lead generation, that it's about that assurance for the customers?
Morning, guys. From my experience, I've been working for Which Trusted Trader since we started about 12 years ago. I've probably assessed over about 2,000 traders, and we are without doubt the best endorsement scheme out there. We're not a tick box. Not anybody can join. You really do have to show your mettle in terms of how you are. Obviously, you've got your technical competence, as James has said, but I think, from my experience, and I'm an assessor at the end of the day, I'm not a sales guy, but I think as far as the brand is concerned, we don't need to sell the brand. The brand already sells itself. What you get, and I hear from the traders, I even had a conversation with an electrician the other day, he's got NICIC or NAPIT or whatever it is, and he said it's the Which brand that makes the difference to him, because he says everybody knows Which, and that's what everybody says. Everybody knows Which, and that, to me, a massive selling point. I mean, actually, one of my mantras is I think we're actually the ultimate trade association. And you'll find out there are traders out there who've got your NICIC or your NAPIT or your MCS and your consumer codes and things like that. But there are traders out there who put Which at the top of that.
Yeah.
That is, to them, is the real selling point. And after so many years of doing this, and to be told that joining Which was the best thing they ever did for the business is music to my ears. That's what gives me my job satisfaction. It knows that we really, really make a difference. And, it's a win-win for everybody. Consumers, trades, everybody.
Yeah, really, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge advocate also for the NICEIC, and that's nothing against NAPIT, but from a positioning point of view, it's a great organisation, because it's, and I'm going to say it, it's the next best known, because if you put the three brands side by side, if you put Which Trusted Trader beside NAPIT, beside NICEIC, and you walked into any household, the one that they would instantly recognise is Which.
Absolutely.
They may recognise NIC, and they might possibly know about NAPIT if they know anything about the electrical industry.
Yeah.
But most householders, if you can stand in and looking primarily at dealing with the domestic market, if you can stand in the customer's home while you're preparing a quote for them, when you're out there for that quote visit, and they can visibly see that you are Which recognized, you are a Which Trusted Trader, or they are informed that you're a Which Trusted Trader, they don't even have to ask the question about credibility. They know that it's there, it exists. If you, on the other hand, don't have a Which membership, and you are telling them, "Oh, I'm NIC registered," you'll often get the question, "Well, what does that mean? What's the NIC?" And it's nothing against the NIC. It's just that the consumers aren't aware. But Which have such a long history of consumer advocacy that, as I said in the opening, the survey that was carried out back in, and I know it was 2018, but 71% of UK homeowners know what the Which brand is. They recognise it.
Yeah, and we are the ultimate consumers organiser. I actually believe, we're not just there for consumers. I think increasingly I've been advocating the fact that we're there for trades as well. And yeah, I mean, that is definitely the case. I think, I'm going to mention it now. There might be questions about it, but we do offer this arbitration route, alternative dispute resolution, which I know that obviously with your NICIC Platinum Guarantee or your NAPIT Guarantee that you've got that for the technical reasons. But if you have issues with customer services or things like that, a lot about miscommunications or misunderstandings, ultimately we can deal with that. And one of the things I don't think we make a really big thing about is that nobody really needs to go to court now. You never need to go to court because you've got that alternative dispute resolution there. But also within our teams, we've actually got a dedicated team who deal with complaints. So even if traders need advice, if you want advice, you've got an awkward customer, we can deal with that. If you look on our, Trustpilot reviews, there's particularly a recent one where it says a consumer's phone and said, there was an issue. Nobody's perfect at the end of the day. There was an issue, but it got dealt with by our guy Nathan. He dealt with it. He arbitrated it even before it went to dispute resolution. So massive benefits to being which is more than just on the face of it,
Yeah, very true. Absolutely. Steve, do we have any questions coming in?
Hang on. I've got to click buttons. Right, mic's on. Yes, there are a few questions. Carlia Electrical question: Frank. What is the offer for existing members of Which Trusted Trader?
That's cheeky, Frank.
So it's a good question. We don't have an existing sort of offer that for existing sort of members. Frank, if you had joined through sort of NIC, EIC, which I hope you would have, I think you probably would have had the 6 months sort of half price. But I'll get, if it's okay with yourself, I'll get some details from James post call, and we'll get one of our crews to give you a call next week and have that discussion with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just add to that if I can. Cheeky ask, Frank, but as you know how the toolbox operates, the two gentlemen that you're looking at on screen now who represent Which are going to be added to our expert list in the Facebook group, which means that you'll have access to ask questions, and I would hope that the gentleman would respond. So that in itself is a benefit. You've got a direct line to the guys at Which. So I think that's a big enough win. Steve, any other questions?
Absolutely. So Chris Ward had a question. The offer that you've shared today is for 50% off the normal price. But what is that normal price? What is that price to pay?
Good question.
It's a really, really good question. So the price for a trader with 1 to 3 traders is £66 a month for the membership fee. So that then is £33 a month for the first 6 months because you are joining through my Electricians Toolbox. The assessment fee is £248 full price. Because of the offer today, that is down to £124 for the assessment. So you don't pay that today. I can't stress that enough. When you and I'll happily put the link back into the chat to give everyone access. I can see that a couple of people have already kind of registered their details. You do not pay anything today. So what happens is after you've registered your details, your name, your email address, name of the business, where you hear it from, we already track that lead to say that it's come through from today. You will then get a call from one of our what we call assessment, one of our sort of application team. They will then talk you through the basics of what you need to get through to the next stage. So we'll talk about, do you have any financial issues at the minute? Is there any kind of have you been trading 6 months sort of minimum? All that kind of stuff. Only then, if you'd said yes to all that, do they take that payment. So there's absolutely nothing to pay today. The reason we wanted you to sort of register your interest today was so you get access to that offer. Okay, I hope that answers the question.
I think so. Tony Shirley, which has been around for many years, and I know and trust it. However, I am, well, there you go, 55 years old. How is Which perceived to younger people today, and do they know of it? My ideal customer of an older age, which is fine, but we always need the younger customers.
Yeah, again, so that's a Tony, fantastic question. So I'm party to a lot of the things that we're doing to appeal, and you are absolutely right. There is a certain demographic of the average Which consumer, north of 40, owns their own home. They're perfect kind of customers really for the retro build. There's a huge amount of investment from Which we are a sort of not-for-profit sort of charity. So a lot of the commercial angles of how we work, things like trusted traders, things like the endorsement scheme, gets pulled back into the business for our advocacy work, but also gets pulled back into the industry to help that kind of digital transformation that we're on. So what that means is, and we've seen it already, traditionally, the Which logo, the Which branding has always been offered to people in magazine format. We understand now that, that people are changing, people's behaviors are changing. As a consequence of that, we're starting on that digital journey. We now kind of offer that magazine from a digital format, and that's just the kind of the tip of the iceberg. So the other things we're doing is we're investing heavily in the kind of the social media work, and all this is driving that kind of that demographic down all the time in terms of that age group. The other thing we're doing, and this is very much specific to Trusted Trader, is that, and it's a bit of a story, so buckle up. So effectively, my son at the minute is, and this is very specific to Trusted Trader, we're trying to go after new blood within the industry, within your industry. So my son is sort of 15 years of age. At no point during that kind of school journey has it been talked about going into that kind of trade. Now, it's a fantastic industry to be involved with, and I'm a big advocate for it. I live it, I breathe it. I talk to traders every single day, so I'm very lucky to be able to lean on traders to offer that kind of support and advice. So the point I'm trying to make is we're trying to work with academies up and down the UK at the minute, and we're going to be doing more work going into this by working with people like my Electrician's ToolBox, by working with our other partners in the trade associations. The whole point of this is to drive a much bigger appeal to kind of the younger audience, but also to traders that are looking to get into your industry. We know there's a skills gap. I was in the House of Lords in April 2025 last year, and the Trustmark were talking about, getting new blood into the industry. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to work with everybody to make that happen. What are the appeals to get into the industry? It's an incredibly lucrative business to get into, but how do we get that young blood of people coming in? So it's kind of went around the hills a little bit on that one. But ultimately, they're the two aspects of what we're trying to do to kind of get into that kind of younger generation. So great question, though. Great question.
Can I just chip in on that as well? Just for a sec, after doing this and speaking to you guys over the years, everything I've learned from the trades and their experiences. I've seen a change in that perception of Which from when I started, like I say, 12, 13 years ago. And it's definitely gone younger, I think. It used to be all that for older people, but I genuinely think now younger people know about Which, and it's definitely in that area where people have maybe they've bought a new house and therefore they need the work doing. So it's late 20s, 30s is where it really becomes relevant to them, and that's just my perception of it. And yeah.
I think also, James, and Alistair, I think there's a lot that your members can do to promote that as well. Mm-hmm. Because if you consider that they're going to be carrying a Which badge, mm-hmm. Well, if you've got the badge, use the badge. Mm-hmm. So when they are blogging, when they are posting on social media, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, instead of just going, well, I'm Which Trusted Trader, talk to people and explain what Trusted Trader is. What does it mean to be a Which Trusted Trader member? When you're writing a blog, when you're doing a YouTube video, when you're creating a post, when you're out talking to your customers, like we said, 71% of households will know what the Which badge is. But if somebody doesn't, taking the time to explain it as a member helps to get that message out as well.
Yeah, it's a great show.
Absolutely.
Steve.
I forgot I could bring these up on screen. So Tony had another question. NIC approved. Is there any benefit for applying for which through them?
So again, great, I can answer that one. Great question. So had you sort of asked this question about 2 weeks ago, I would have said yes, absolutely. You would have got 6 months off. We've got a very similar offer with the same offer with My Electrician's Toolbox. So from today, you can put your application through the link provided, and you will get that offer plus that 50% off the assessment fee. All right. So I hope that
Can I just jump in on that as well, James, for a second? And it's just an important message for me, because my members will know this from other groups that we are affiliated to. The Toolbox get absolutely nothing from your membership. We are not on an affiliate scheme. We are not on any kind of payback scheme or anything like that with any of our providers. Everything that may have or would have benefited the Toolbox goes to benefit you as a member. So the reality is, and I'm going to say this strongly, I don't care how you join Which Trusted Trader, just join Which Trusted Trader. Yeah. So if you join it through your NAPIT or you join it through your NIC or any other way, become a member of Which Trusted Trader. It is a powerful tool to have in your tool bank. And it doesn't matter to me whether you join through the Toolbox link or anything. The only way that helps is it helps Which Trusted Trader track where the memberships are coming from.
Yeah. And can I just jump on that as well? So in the early stages when James and I were having this conversation, James, you're absolutely adamant that you did not want any form of kickback, anything like that at all. You just wanted that discount to go straight to traders. But just to add that as well, we aren't currently partnered with NAPIT. We are only partnered with NIC EIC, and the only way to get that offer through either NIC EIC or through My Electrician Toolbox is to register via the link. I know I keep harping on about that, but it's because it's the only way we can track in order to apply those discounts. Okay.
The other thing I would just add as well is that James and Alistair has given their time to come and talk to us all today. They will be in the Facebook group, the Toolbox members Facebook group. You will have access to them, so support them as well. Supporting which, support them. Cool. Okay, what else have we got? This is more of a technical question, I think. At times, it is not possible to provide a firm quote because there are too many variables and unknowns such as fault finding. So when it comes to providing a quote in these circumstances, how can we avoid getting trapped in a fixed price when things can take a longer than expected, even though you advise the customer this may happen? I think it's more of a technical question to be taken away from this presentation, really. But
that's right in Alistair's.
Yeah,
that's right in Alistair's department, I think.
I mean, obviously others will probably, but straight away I'm thinking this is what we have. See, when there's a kind of understanding from my point of view is that when you're quoting, you don't always know what you're going to find. And to me, most complaints we get as an organisation is about communication. They didn't tell us that. They didn't say this is going to be included. That's not going to be included. We know what consumers are like. They're road consumers. I appreciate that. Traders tell me that all the time. There are road consumers. And I said, yeah, I understand that. I've got a trading standards background, so I know that there's always two sides to a story. So the communication thing is important. We say we prefer the use of quotes rather than estimates. But I understand it, particularly in your kind of industry, you don't know what you're going to get. But when we say quote, but always make it clear in your terms, conditions, or whatever, or in the main body of the quote, is probably most important, what they're going to get and what, those unforeseeable circumstances in them situations, what then, this might happen, that might happen. We will re-quote. If there's more work, the biggest mistake ever is to go and do work and then not say that you're going to do it and then turn around and say, oh, we're going to charge more. Always keep them informed about exactly what they're going to get. And that way you avoid them kind of going to dispute resolution and things like that, you know.
Yeah, we have a whole section in the 6 steps that we teach on communication, and exactly for the reason that you say, because one of the biggest complaints from customers is lack of communication, poor communication, bad communication. And let's be fair about it as well. Sometimes customers use that to their advantage. You know, they'll ask for some additional work to be done, and you don't follow it up with an email or a letter or a message. And then at the end of the job, you invoice them for it, and they go, well, I didn't know I was going to be invoiced for it, and there's nothing in writing, right? So sometimes we as tradesmen are our own worst enemies, because there's nothing wrong with using a quote, a fixed price quote, and in your terms and conditions saying, you know, subject to proper inspection, subject to, so you're covering yourself, but the consumer's protected as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just talking, you know, everything I'm doing here, I'm just talking off the top of my head. But, you know, the things like, I always compare it, like, there's a scenario, buy cheap, you buy twice. If you're quoting against somebody who's literally not giving you the same quality, you know, that they're taking shortcuts, they might get the job, but they might come back to you later on because they didn't get what they thought they were going to get. Yeah, make it completely clear about why you're better than the others, you know. This is all from experience, from speaking to other trades, you know, not just electricians, whatever, kitchen fitters, people like that. These are the experiences that I get from you guys.
Absolutely. Cool. Coolio. John Noble's got a question. What is Which's policy on gas-safe plumbers claiming to be engineers, heating or otherwise?
I'm going to divert to you, Alistair, on this one. This is your area of expertise, I believe.
Well, as a trading standards guy, you know, we're looking at websites and things like that, or, you know, people when they say, if you're gas safe, you've got to be gas safe yourself. You can't be saying that we're gas safe when you use subcontractors. You have to be, and we check these things out. You know, if you say you're gas safe, we're going to make sure you're gas safe. We're on the gas safe registers. We will do going on the electrical register or NICIC or NAPIT. You can't be saying something that you're not at the end of the day. And we're definitely a no-no. If you're not gas safe or you're not on a competency scheme, I've seen it before when people have told me they're not on a competency scheme. And it's like, well, why are you applying? You know, not on the competency scheme. Is it too expensive? Sorry, that doesn't wash at all. You really, really have to prove you're on that competency scheme. So yeah, and also if you say you're gas safe engineers, if it's just one person with gas safe register, we will challenge that. It's like it's just you. There's nobody else. You can't make yourself look bigger than what you are. Yeah, it's all about, you know, in terms of trading standards legislation, making sure what you say is accurate, and don't try to pull the wool over our eyes at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I guess you need to be more. Question. I'm not sure if it does, but
yeah, I think so. I think what you're saying is you need to be more concerned about yourself than everybody else, because there will always be people out there that will cut corners and do things that when they're not registered.
Yeah, and they won't even get past our door if that's the case.
No. So Dan Kennedy's got a question. Morning to you, Dan. How would the review system work with Which? Most toolboxes have a fair number of Google reviews. Would it be more beneficial getting reviews through Which instead?
Can I just very quickly on that one, because on the other screen I've got a comment from Justin Davis, and it says every Which customer review has to provide proof of purchase, so all reviews are vetted and true. Right, so that in itself speaks volumes, because it stands head and shoulders above anything, where anybody can just type in a review, and people, as we know, people will fake reviews. It happens. Situation like this, when a consumer looks at it, they know it's a genuine review.
Yeah.
On top of that, just literally, I was doing I'm still writing up from Friday, but I'm challenging this guy because he's got reviews all over his website, and I've checked Google, and I can't find them. So I'm looking at them and thinking, well, I'm going to phone him up on Monday. I'm going to find out where are these reviews, where are you getting them from. I understand now that you can pay. You probably all get calls like this about, we'll pay us so much and we'll give you so many reviews.
Yeah.
We can spot them, and I can spot them, and we would challenge that. It's a real problem, I think, a real problem that.
But yeah, I mean, look, just to add to that as well, one of the things is, getting reviews off your customers can be really, really difficult. We know that. We've got a whole kind of team that will help you get those reviews. And like James said with the comment that was made, making sure that they don't get through unless they're fully verified, fully vetted. So we will handhold all the way when coming on to our platform to ensure that, to get as many as you can. We all know right now that there's fake reviews for the good, in terms of getting positive reviews that don't really exist, and there's also fake reviews to try and kind of rubbish your business as well. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of digital noise. There's a footprint everywhere you go online. This is about cutting through the noise and having a kind of platform that has the fully vetted reviews.
Perfect. Gary Pratman has a question, Steve. Do you carry out any research, and have you got any stats on how being which approved affects inquiry rates or conversions?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, Gary, and it's a very difficult one to answer. Believe it or not, one of the videos that didn't work was when we were at the solar and storage event back in September. We go there now sort of every year post Brexit. What am I talking about? Post coronavirus. Yeah, we hadn't done sort of any events, but we started going to them. One of the reasons is not just to showcase we're there and what we're about, but also to talk to the traders, people like you guys direct. And the traders were telling us that it has an enormous impact. One of the chaps in particular was talking about, before which, pre-which, he was converting at about sort of 1 in 5, 1 in 6. By adding the badge, he's now converting about 1 in 2, 1 in 3. So it has a direct impact. Now, I can't stress that's not the case for everybody. I want to get that in the open, but that was certainly for one of the traders that we sort of interviewed. So again, it probably, and there's a number of variables how you using that particular logo, right? So if you're plastering everywhere, if you're putting on your quotes, if you're putting it on your invoices, if you're putting it on your on your workwear, on your digital platforms, you're going to have a better conversion, I would imagine, than people who are not using it at all. But,
and to add to that as well, James mentioned our retention rate, which is 89%, which is very, very good. But it also doesn't really do it justice, because a lot of those traders we get rid of, if they don't adhere to our standards at the end of the day, and they let us down, we won't tolerate it.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like quite draconian and arrogant, but it's our reputation at the end of the day, and we won't.
It's important, because that's what makes the badge valuable.
Mm-hmm.
It's important that people are seen to be removed. We know of other organizations, which obviously won't be named, but we know of other organizations who will have anybody on board, and regardless of how many complaints come in about that person or the way that they're running their business, they're still there. And that loses credibility for that particular organization, that particular badge. So you may say draconian. I think it's a good thing, and it's something to stand alongside of and go, I'm here and I survived the scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I'm joining, because of that reason. I don't want to be part of something which is literally a tick box. You come to the right place, because we are definitely not a tick box.
Yeah. Stephen has said he's filled out the form, Stephen Lake, and as has Jason, filled out the form. I've got a question here from Frank at Carly. I think this has already been answered. Let me just raise it for a second, because I'll give you guys a chance to look at it. The question is, in terms of a dispute, which hat does Trusted Trader wear? Frank, my answer to that is it all comes in the word advocacy. They're not wearing a hat for the consumer or a hat for the trader. They want a resolution of the issue in everybody's benefit. That's the way I would see this. And I think James already talked about mediation, or Alistair, I can't remember which one mentioned it, but in terms of, avoiding that whole conflict escalation and going to court, they'll sit down and mediate between the customer and the tradesperson to come up with a solution that works for everybody.
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate in my line of work to be not just to be in front of traders and partnerships, case in point today, but to be part of the varying teams within Trusted Trader, very close to that team as well in particular. And I know for a fact that they're really proud of the idea that a lot of these disputes can be sort of facilitated, mediated in-house. And I get your concern, because we're a consumer organization, do we ensure that, we just make sure the consumer's okay? Absolutely not. We are there to protect kind of both sides. And it might seem a little bit odd to go, well, how does that happen? It does. And we're very proud of the fact that, an enormous percentage of cases, if they do arise, get managed in-house, and that includes a fantastic team of people that will ring both parties, that will navigate through the noise, and just to make sure that the resolution is an acceptable one for both parties. We have stats on that, which we can share at some point, no doubt.
Ultimately, our dispute resolution provider is our ICS. Some traders are not always happy with the outcome. I can't really say, but it shouldn't actually go to that point. Like James has said, we do have our internal team who will try and deal with it before it gets there. And I think, to me, it's a massive selling point, even to begin with. 95% of our traders never have to go through dispute resolution. But it's that giving that confidence and that peace of mind to traders that even if there is a dispute, we can resolve it,
And I think by following the kind of guidelines set out by my Electrician ToolBox, by sort of which Trusted Traders, then you're limiting the kind of exposure to this kind of thing anyway, truth be told. So, I just want to add that in at the end.
No worries. There is one other question, and I think this is a good question because it's something that, let's bring it up first of all. Stephen Lake, can you explain the criteria for taking customer deposits? As one of your members told me, there's a limit, and maybe above the limit requires an additional insurance. Now, the reason this is interesting for me is because I do advocate for tradesmen taking a deposit, because many small tradesmen, many small businesses end up funding other people's work. So in other words, you're laying out for materials, you're laying out for labor, and it may be weeks before you get paid. Having a deposit system in place, and I think this is the important thing, having a system to it, not just taking money from people, but having a deposit system in place for smaller tradesmen ensures, number one, that when they put the date in the diary, the consumer's going to get that date. It's not going to get juggled around. It's not going to get moved around. It ensures that the tradesperson himself is not funding the client's job, not funding the customer's job. I know that there have been questions before in terms of where do which stand on this. How do we do this and comply with your wishes as well?
Well, it is a good question, and these are the sort of things I always cover in the assessment anyway. We have this policy, and it's probably because at the end of the day, we've had our fingers burnt in the past where businesses have gone bust, and the last people who are probably going to get the money is going to be the consumer. So we say, if you anything above £500, it must be financially protected. So if you take upfront payments above £500, you can cap it at £500. So say you want to secure the work, then okay, take a deposit of £500. Anything above that, we talk about deposit insurance. There are companies out there which I'm not going to mention. You just have to Google it. But probably the best way, if you take credit cards, I mean, the benefits of credit cards, you know, the Consumer Credit Act, even if you take a small amount on a credit card, even if it's 20, 50 quid and the rest is sort of through bank transfer, that should legally protect the customer and you, really. It's a selling point. You know, we take.
I think we,
you know.
I think we align a lot better than some people think. I think the issue here is communication. People are hearing. If you're with which you can't take a deposit, but that's not the case. That's not, it's how you do that. It's how you manage that process.
What we don't allow is taking full payment in the beginning. You've got to, you know, that wouldn't, and I would like to think that all of you guys wouldn't do that anyway. You know, people want that peace of mind, and I think you're exposing yourself if you pay up front for full stop for everything. You know. I hope that answers the question, but yeah, we do have that.
I think that answers it. And Steve, any other questions?
Yes, Craig Wright's got a question. This one's for Alistair. During your assessment, you discussed the amount of unregistered electricians in the area and how many customers are unaware of the requirements for registered electricians not for the work. You did mention you'd have a look into this and see which could push the campaign.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, it's a good point, and I'm going to take that on board. You know, we should be educating as an organisation about the relevance of that, making sure that they are in a competence scheme.
Yeah, I can chip in there as well. So we work very closely with the advocacy team at Corwich, which is, you know, kind of where we see some of the campaigning work being done. And one of the big things that we're sort of doing this year is, you know, educating sort of consumers on what to look for when choosing a trader. So, you know, it's not ideal to go, you know, absolutely make sure you use a which trusted trader. We know it's more complex than that, but at the very least, there's a certain checklist of things that a consumer needs to go through when choosing a trader to cut through these kind of rogue traders that sort of do exist. One of which is we're going to be, again, I mentioned this during the presentation. We're going to be at the the S.P.A.R.K.S in Swindon on the 15th and 16th of May. If you're around in the area, pop along. We'll happily sort of speak to you. It's a consumer event, but the idea is that whole 2 days will be about educating consumers on what to look for when getting work done. Because, you know, whether it be a small kind of light fitting switch or whether it be a full kind of retrofit, ultimately it's an investment from that person to get that work done. And we need to make sure that consumers are armed with the right tools and the right knowledge to get that trader within your home. And I think that's really important. So it's again, I keep saying it, but a very, very good question.
Excellent stuff. Right, gents, we're running slightly over on time at the moment. We said we'd be here for about an hour or so. I'm happy if you guys are happy to take one more question. But I think also there's been some really good questions coming through. There are still some good questions in the pipeline. And what I'd love to do now that we are partnered is invite you back again. We'll set a date and we can just, rather than doing a presentation, we can just do a Q&A for those people who have questions that need answering.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm really encouraged by. I mean, the worst is doing a presentation and no one's got any questions on the back of it, right? I mean, that's like the worst case scenario. But the fact that it just proves engagement, it proves a lot of questions out there. And look, I can't speak for Alistair, but I'm sure he'll be happy. We're more than happy to even bring in maybe one or two as a panel to kind of really come in and maybe even get someone from each of the departments to kind of look, if these are questions, these are concerning for you, if these are stopping you from applying for Which Trust Traders, if these are stopping you getting business, we're kind of happy to come in, give our expertise and showcase that to you guys. So we'll work with you, James, in terms of making that happen. No problems at all.
Excellent stuff. So Steve, Choose carefully. One more question.
Oh no, I'm on the spot
No
now.
pressure. No pressure. No pressure.
You know I don't do pressure. Darren May had a question. Is the 50% off just for the first assessment, or is this every assessment for being a member via the toolbox?
So it's for the initial assessment to get onto the scheme. Alistair, can you kind of add a bit more to that in terms of the other assessments?
Yeah, I mean, you got the initial assessment, but you don't get assessed every year. We do keep our checks on our traders. If we think somebody deserves to get a new assessment, then we'll do a reassessment, which may be paid. That's not really my side of things, but in reality, it's quite rare.
There's no annual assessment fee. It's you have your monthly membership, and that's it.
Yeah, that's right. There's not an annual assessment fee, if that answers your question. However, should you as an electrical trader then start taking on renewables and you join kind of MCS, there will be an additional assessment to verify,
thanks for that, James. You're right. Yeah, if you're doing other stuff like say renewables, then you will pay a further assessment. Yeah, I didn't make that point, but thanks, James, for
excellent stuff, gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time this morning. James, if you want to just get your slide with the QR code ready, we'll pop that back up on screen.
Sure.
Thank you, everybody who's attended this morning, for the questions that you've put in, for the attention that you've paid to this. James and Alistair will be added to the Facebook group after this weekend. It's not going to happen until Monday, so they'll be added to the Facebook group in over the weekend or after the weekend. So if you've got any further questions, you can post them into the Facebook group, the member group, and tag the gents in on that. I'll also we'll organize another meetup so that you can have more questions asked and answered. I think there's a huge amount of value in it, and I know I also, my sense is that there's been, in some instances over the years, when we're trying to explain and to get people, encourage people to join that there's been confusion over this thing about deposits and the right to cancel and all of that kind of thing that prevent people. And I think you've answered a lot of that today, and I think it will go a long way towards convincing those skeptics to now look at it. So
I think there's probably been a lot of questions as well in the background of the process of being registered as well. People haven't got into it because they don't know how to or don't know what they entail. So this has been really good to give them the insight on what's going to be happening.
And we can do a session. I almost added some slides in terms of like what being assessed entails. I just figured we were getting too much into the weeds on it. More than happy to do a session to alleviate any fears. And the other thing as well, let's not forget, we know there's Which Trusted Traders within us anyway, within that are already joining. They're already part of MET. They're already part of WTT. So let's invite them in. Let's get them from the horse's mouth, talking about not just what it takes to get onto the scheme, but also what it means for their business afterwards. I'm more than happy to do kind of, as long as the guys are, case studies with it and kind of that kind of almost like that interview style kind of thing, really. So because I think that's really important, because we've got some what we call poster person campaigns going out with some of the other trade associations over the next few weeks, one of which with the BPCA, and that's a really good deep dive into why they are part of Which Trusted Traders, why they're part of their trade association, and what it meant to them to get on there. So watch this space.
Sounds like a plan.
Absolutely. Once again, thank you very much. I'm going to put up your QR code, and again, thanking everybody for their time and attention this morning. James and Alistair, I will catch up with you again very, very soon. We'll add you to the group over the weekend, and thank you. Take care, guys.
Nice to meet you all. Thanks very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.